Hello, I'm Hank from Blue Heron Battery. Wanted to talk to you a little bit in this segment about how do you determine the size of the battery bank that you need. Many of you already have an existing battery bank, and that's a big start to help you on answering that question. That battery bank may be AGM or just regular wet cell lead acid batteries. But let's just say that battery bank is 600 amp hours. And you found that when it was new, it worked pretty well for you. So that 600 amp hours of a lead acid or AGM means that it really has, or it should be planned on having 300 amp hours available for you, 50% of its rated capacity. Once you start pushing below that, you start significantly degrading the age of those batteries, that type battery. So it's generally considered that 50% of the rated is sort of the usable capacity for those kind of batteries. So a 600 amp hour would be 300 amp hours usable. So an equivalent in lithium would be a 300 amp hour battery bank, or maybe you go a little higher, 320 or something like that amp hours. And that would then be equivalent usable capacity. Now, beyond that, you may decide that, well, since you're going through the exercise of upgrading, improving your battery bank, and most of us generally tend to, add things to our RV or our boat rather than taking things away. And so you may decide that it might make sense just to increase that a bit, and maybe instead of 300 usable on lithium, or 315, 320, you may push that up to 400, 415, something like that, so that you've got a pretty good amount of power to allow for some added appliance or whatever. So that's a good reference point, just using your existing. There's some standards out there that and articles that say, well, basically, if you've got that 300 amp hour battery bank, let's say 600 amp hour battery bank, then just take 60% of that to 70% of that. 60% would be 360, 70% would be 420. We end up almost in sort of the same ballpark we were before, just using that kind of a rule of thumb. It's another sort of consensus on what makes sense when you make this switch. We also, we publish some guidelines. We generally say, let's just use boats for this example, but it would correlate with small, medium, large RV. But let's say a small sail or power boat that's under about 34 feet, and that might be equivalent to, say, a camper van. It would be about a 200 amp hour battery bank, is sort of a general standard lithium, that is 200 amp hours of lithium. That tends to work well. And then if you had a lot of equipment on, more than the typical, then you go up from there. Let's say it's a mid-size sail or powerboat, or maybe it's a Class C RV. Something like 300 to 600 tends to be a pretty good number, pretty good range for RVs or vessels of that size. And if it's a very large, let's say not very, but a large sailor power, maybe 47 to 60 feet, then you might be looking at anywhere from 600 to 1200 amp hours. At the upper end, maybe if you wanted to pick up a small air conditioning unit from time to time, you lean more toward the upper end of that scale. Or maybe if you have, a lot of heavy duty appliances or whatever else that you want to power. So anyway, there's some guidance for you, and hopefully that helps. Anytime you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, support@ blueheronbattery.com, Blue Heron Battery, all one word, .com. So appreciate your time and listening to this. I hope you found it helpful. Take care.